Hey guys, it's me, Kelly. I'm really excited to bring a TruthSeekah back to you guys by popular demand. You guys keep wanting him to come back, so we keep bringing him back. The last time, I think we were talking about symbols last time. So we're going to get heavy into symbology and certain symbols that you think are bad. And we're going to be explaining why these symbols are not bad. They're just symbols. They do have power. They have energy. But you know, just like a fork, you can eat your dinner with a fork, or you can stab someone in the eye with a fork. So what you do with these symbols is what really matters, not actually the symbol itself. But we're going to be clarifying all of that. Plus, we're going to be taking all of your questions with the Q&A. And see what you have for TruthSeekah. So, and we've got some, we're just going to check in with him also and see how his career is going and where everything is. So without further ado, here is TruthSeekah.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Hey, Kelly, thanks for having me on the show again. Ready to get into some conversation and touch on some topics that a lot of people have questions about: symbols, symbolism, talisman. All of these things. And so a lot of people believe that symbols are, they see a symbol and it has a certain meaning to them. So we're going to go into detail about the power that's connected with those meanings and how that same symbol means something totally different to somebody else. And so the symbols in general don't have power or authority or anything like that, but it's what your consciousness and what you tie to that symbol is where you get that's where it gets the power from. So many symbols to cover, and try to cover some of the ones that we see kind of in daily life, or some of the elementary symbols in spirituality and things you see on the internet and things like that. So as far as like the pentagram and the Star of David, the cross, all of these symbols. So we'll kind of go into some of that information as well.
Now you said a $20 word, talismans. Mm-hmm. So what, for those that don't know, and for some of those that think they know what a talisman is, what is the purpose of the talisman? Do you know when it started or anything, and who uses talismans? Can that soccer mom in Virginia, could she use them as well, or are these just for hunters and what is it for exactly?
Well, if we go back to the Hebrews, that's where I like to go back to. The Hebrews in the Bible, they used to use these talismans as well. They were called teraphims, and so it's what some people would call like a graven image or whatever. So they would have a image or a symbol or a statue or whatever the case is, and so whenever they looked at it, it would remind them of something. So that's why we see monuments erected. That's why we see statues and things like that. So every time that we look at this symbol, it reminds us of an accomplishment in our life. We look at the Greeks, it reminds them of different Greek gods or different rulers that they had that they wanted to commemorate. Just like when we look at Washington, D.C., we have the Washington Monument, we have the statue of Abraham Lincoln and all of this stuff. So when you look at them, it represents something else. And a thought or an idea. So the same way the Hebrews had the same thing. So they would look at something, and just much like the cross. We look at the symbol of the cross, which many Christians wear and they have. So when a Christian would look at the cross, to them it symbolizes Christ dying on the cross for their sins, salvation. This is just a cross. It's a T. Even so much earlier, it was wore as a T for Tammuz. Representing the god Tammuz, and that's why
they spell that, like Tammuz.
Tammuz, Tammuz, I believe, and so it was represented for the god Tammuz, which was, I believe, the offspring of Nimrod, resurrected. So we have, even in the Bible, it talks about the women weeping for Tammuz, right? It was something that they did. It was like a crying and like a zealous crying, throwing themselves on the floor, rolling around. The same type of stuff you see in many Pentecostal type churches, the women rolling, weeping, rolling on the floor and things like that. So same kind of practices that were tied in with the symbol of the cross. And so, Christians would see the, the symbol as a symbol of liberation from their sin, from their bondage, a symbol of new life for them, and access to the afterlife through the cross. When other people see that same cross, they see, like if a Jew would see it, would represent the Crusades to them, the Christian Crusades, and so they killed and pillaged their families and stuff. So it was even said that there was a Jewish man who they asked him if he wanted to go to a healing crusade, a Benny Hinn healing crusade, right?
Oh boy.
So when he heard the term
I want to go to one of
crusade,
those.
he's like, so yeah, so that means a healing crusade. They all get together and pray, or whatever the case is, and preach. So when he hears the term crusade, to him that means a place of destruction, a place where his ancestors were slaughtered in the crusades and stuff, right? So yeah, so we see the same terms and the same phrases that trigger responses in our own psyche, that it means different things to different people. So the cross in itself is a wooden symbol. It's a it's a symbol that's used for the death penalty. That's how they would kill the people back then, the murderers and the thieves and things. So it would be just like someone wearing a the symbol of a electric chair or something like that, just like for the death penalty, right? So for different people, these same symbols have different meaning and different vibrations that when they see it, it helps them. Or just like a painting of Christ or a painting of something that you look at, it represents something deeper to them.
Now you used it's probably like a $15 word, but Graven Images.
Uh-huh.
Now, anytime I hear the word Graven Images, it's like forbidden. Like they were forbidding Graven Images. Like what's up with this? Well, I can kind of see why they would do that.
Yeah.
Because then you would become more powerful. So who forbade these? Who said no, you cannot? And what's the story behind that?
Well, this is the thing that we get into with not just Graven Images, but many biblical references and things that seem taboo by many. One of them being astrology. We hear the word astrology and we think that the Bible forbids it. Graven Images, we think that the Bible forbids it. And there's many other things, whether it's spiritual or something physical, like a graven image, which I use the word the teraphim is what the Hebrews called it, and you can look that up in your Bible as well, teraphim. And so it's not that these things in themselves are evil or wicked. Even in the understanding of the Bible, we're coming from a Judeo-Christian background, just thinking about these things. They take these certain phrases and they stand upon them and they try to build a doctrine or a belief system upon maybe an instance that happened one time. So in the form of astrology, we see that the early mystics, the early seers and sages, the Hebrews, the prophets of the Bible were very big into astrology and astronomy, and they were very big into the sun, the moon, the stars, all of these things. They understand that the Lord created the stars in the heavens and even has names for each one. Each one of the stars, the Lord God named them, and he has them out there for a reason. They're there for a reason. So where you see in the Bible maybe one time where Yahweh rebuked the astrologers for trusting in that. And it wasn't because that practice was evil, or looking at graven images or having statues in your house were evil. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't because of that. It was because they were putting their trust in these things, and so they kind of take their their admiration off of source and they put it in this. And so this is what gives us our answers. This is what does it, rather than source. So all of these things are used for a reason, for a purpose. I mean, it's written of in the scriptures, and we can see different acts of divination, things like that, which is fine. Divination, perfectly used in the Bible, but there were places where divination was condemned because the people's hearts had left their first love. They were in it for the wrong reasons. And so you see a rebuke towards those who use divination, those who practiced in assemblies, and those who had sacrifices and worship and things like that. So it's not that this is a blatant statement that all of this is bad, but it's usually something that happened once or twice, so that they were, using it for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you got someone honking their horn. You must live by a street.
It's always 1 second. This is when they come. Give me 1 second.
It looks like he's getting a delivery. I love it. I love it. Hey, you guys, I'm getting some questions over here. When he comes back, we're going to start asking these questions. You guys have gotten some good questions. Okay, so the Illuminati symbol with the eye in it, we're going to make sure and ask him about that. So any of these symbols, pardon my allergies, it is just, good grief. I've had myself muted all this time, so you haven't been able to hear me. It has been raining for about 9 days straight. It is absolutely insane. My allergies. So I got my tea. And I try to, when I buy mugs, I try to make sure that they're bigger than my face because you guys just demand it. You know, that's how you are. I knew you. I knew you. Oh, also, I've got a symbol book. I've got a symbol book. So I'm going to be looking up some symbols, and so put the name of the symbols over there and I can look up the symbols and see what they actually look like and show everybody. I'm going to be doing a Q&A like right after this. So when we do the Q&A, I got some stuff in the mail. I cannot wait to show you guys. So we'll see what package he has this time. He may or may not be able to show us his name.
It never fails every time. Always order something, it always comes in the middle of our.
The funny thing is, I went to the dollar store, and it's like I needed something on my front door because they keep knocking on my front door when I'm in the middle of something live. So okay. I got one of those. You know, on one side it says open, on the other side it says closed, and it's got "We'll be back" and like a clock on it. I actually bought that at the dollar store, so I've got it on my. I don't know if it's gonna work. But I got it on my front door right now. And so I've got on the hands of the clock, like when our interview is going to be over, that I will be back then. But closed. It's
kind of like door. It's kind of like ritual now that they always come when I'm doing an interview.
It's like, why does Kelli have a closed sign on her residence? You never know. I was telling them while you were gone, they've got all these questions coming up. The Illuminati symbol is what they're terming it. On the Eye of Horus, or the all-seeing eye. So I'm gonna see if I can find that in my book of symbols. I think I got the wrong book. Dadgummit, I did get the wrong book. This is more about dream interpretation than anything. So I'm sorry. I'll
dream symbolism.
Yeah. Well. So what's up with the Eye of Horus? Like, what the frack? What's all about?
Yeah, I mean, the Eye of Horus, the Eye of Ra, the all-seeing eye, whatever. This is a symbol that was used by all early cultures, actually representing the eye of God. So we see the sun being the all-seeing eye, and so venerating where all life comes from. If we didn't have the sun, we wouldn't have life, and so they seen that as a symbol of God. So it wasn't just the Egyptians that used this; like all of the indigenous cultures used a form of the all-seeing eye. I went and actually visited the Indians at the Moundville and Moundville, Alabama, which you can check out. It's a really cool place. And they used the hand with the eye in the center of the hand, right? So they all use this eye, and they called it the all-seeing eye of God. So it's just like the spirit of God, the all-seeing, all-knowing eye of God. And so it doesn't have one meaning. You see it and you just think, okay, that means the Illuminati, or that means the Eye of Horus, or whatever the case is. And so it means many things to many people. And so when they see it, they kind of get scared, thinking that it's some kind of demonic Illuminati symbol. But when we use the term,
we got here it is right there. So hopefully, woo, scaring people.
Yeah. So even whenever we're using the term Illuminati, I mean, even the term Illuminati, that's what they called the newly baptized Christians, those who were illuminated. When you look in the New Testament, the term the illuminated ones, once we have become illuminated with the light, the light of Christ. And so this inward light that we're illuminated with. So they were known as the Illuminatis, those who have illuminated themselves. And so those who were just baptized. So terms and phrases mean many different things to many different people. And so the true Illuminati is not some people who we think are, devil worshiping world leaders. The true Illuminati or the true Luciferians are those who bear the light, those who come with knowledge, love, and understanding, those who are walking in the light, those who are illuminated. And so knowledge is light, knowledge is power. We are illuminated with white light, which the Bible references so many times as being like the light of Christ. And don't let your light be hidden under a basket. You need to, you know what I'm saying, let your light shine so that all the world may see. So when we're dealing with Kabbalistic understanding and really deep Hebrew metaphors, we're dealing with light. We're dealing with an impartation of words, which is light, knowledge, and understanding. So we are the Illuminati. We are the true Luciferians. That scares the heck out of everybody. But the real, when you look at the definition of those terms, and yeah, that's who we are.
Mm-hmm. I had someone make a comment on one of my videos. They said, I don't believe anything you say because you're not wearing glasses. That if you wore glasses, I would believe what you're saying. So here, I'm going to tell you. These are not prescription, by the way. Holy crap, now I can't see a thing. So the Illuminati, it's the sun god is what it's saying. The crap, I can't even see with these on. The archetypal ancient Egyptian sign. It doesn't work if you can't see through your glasses. Dadgummit. I'll have to put them on later when I'm trying to be smart. Okay. The Egyptian sign known as the Eye of Horus and as the, okay, I don't know what this word is. W-E-D-J-A-T. I've never heard that before.
Not sure right off.
W-A-D-J-E-T. Symbol of cosmic wholeness and of the all-seeing power of the god Horus. So that was pretty much what you're saying, but I didn't know what that word was. I probably...
Yeah. Well, that's to them because they venerate the god Horus. And so to another culture, it could represent their god, which is the Great Spirit by, you know, Native Americans, which also use the symbol. So it's whatever it means to you. So it doesn't like, you know, when you see the symbol, it's like, oh, that's the Illuminati. That's their symbol. They're showing everyone. It's an ancient symbol for God is exactly what it is by many cultures, not just Egyptian. It's not just the Egyptian symbol. Even the eye of Ra or the Eye of Horus, which is just a symbol, not without the triangle with it. It's also a symbol that's used that I believe it's for the third eye, for the pineal gland. So you have the pineal gland in the center of the brain. So yeah. It just really, you know, means what it means to you. So if you're scared of it, if it's a symbol that invokes fear, you know, there was all these symbols, man, that for me, I was the same way. Like I would see a symbol and it would invoke fear, or I would look for triangles everywhere and think it was the Illuminati sending signals out and stuff, or see stars or whatever and think that was a, you know, the sign to invoke the devil. We'll go to this next one. I have the 5-pointed star, which is the pentagram. Mm-hmm. And so many people see that and they think that that's a symbol of the devil, right? To invoke the devil or whatever the case is. I mean, hey, I guess I thought that too at one point, till I did more studying on ancient symbolism and seeing where that came from. So this is what we really would call the Seal of Solomon, right? So many people think that the hexagram, people think that that's the, you know, the Star of David or the Seal of Solomon. The real Seal of Solomon is the 5-pointed star, the pentagram. And so with that being used, it was a symbol that was given to Solomon by the angel Michael. And so God gave it to Solomon through Michael. Michael delivered it to him and gave him this ring that had this symbol on there. And he said, if you wear that ring, you will have power over all the demons. And so you can take authority over these demons and have power over them to have them do your bidding, right? And so we read in the Testament of Solomon that this is exactly what happened, that Solomon had this ring and it gave him authority over these spirits. And so he got knowledge and information from these spirits as well. And so that's where we get Solomonic magic from. So he had this ring that gave him authority over these spirits. So that's what it represents to me. And so when people see that, they think demons, the devil, whatever the case is. But understanding, even when a witch uses that symbol, whenever a Wiccan would draw that symbol or have it on their, you know, clothing or tapestry or whatever, they think it means people see it thinking it means demonic, but it's actually the opposite. It keeps negative spirits away. It helps you have authority over these spirits, where they will listen to you to, to do your bidding, whether it's to summon them or have authority over them or have protection away from negative entities as well.
Here's a symbol that invokes fear in a lot of people, and there's not just one. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or more symbols. And just reading through, I'm sorry, I just hit the mic with my book. Sorry. We've got one that's the Nazi symbol. There's a Christian variation to this, one that's Celtic, one for the Vikings, ancient Greek, and also ancient the Sumerians. We've got the Sumerians. So this wasn't just Hitler.
Yeah.
So why are people, every time that they see a symbol like this, why is it just automatically Hitler and it's bad? And
because they don't know any better, really. I mean, that's what it means to them. Like we said, that's what it means to them. And so I think that in America, the majority of the time you see that, that's what the people are trying to convey. It's a Nazi with the symbol, and to them it means some form of white supremacy. And that's what it means to them. The SS, the two S's crossed together. And so that's what it means to them. So most people don't understand ancient symbolism. And so they let that symbol have power over them to keep them in fear, or whatever the case is. So, yeah, I mean, just like, we look at the rebel flag, and to most people, they see it as a form of racism, right? But if you would talk to someone who, uses that flag, and it means the very opposite of racism. So saying, symbolizing the Confederacy and everything that happened with them, and it's a form of history. But it's up to you to whether you want to acknowledge that, or whether you want to believe that, or whatever the case is. These symbols, these meanings really have so much meaning to them. And I personally like to go back to the ancient meaning. We look at the the rainbow. If you see a rainbow on someone's car, someone with a rainbow tattoo, a rainbow bracelet, it usually is a symbol of their, homosexuality, right?
And it used to symbolize like My Little Pony,
My Little Pony, right? Exactly. That's that's my daughter. That's what it means to her, right? So,
or Lucky Charms, So it's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. So even like in the Bible, obviously it was a symbol of God's covenant with man after he destroyed the earth with water, that he would never do that again, right? So then he sent the rainbow, and so every time you see this rainbow, just remember my covenant with you not to destroy the earth with water. So that's what it meant to those people, right? So it means to you whatever you want it to mean.
I'm trying to find one. I cannot find it. It's up in Samantha's room, so I'm not going to walk up the stairs and go and get it. But it's basically got 8 points to it. It's almost like an 8-pointed star, kind of like the Star of David that has 6. Only this has 8. And the way that it's done, and gosh, I wish I could find this in here. I might find it in a minute. But the way that it's drawn, you start at the point of one star, then you go across to the point of another star, then you go here, then you go here, then you go here. It's basically ends up being one continuous line that makes those 8 points. So it's not like you've got, 2 squares or something, but offset and put together. What, do you know that symbol? I'm trying to find it.
There's several that are, kind of like that. You have 2 different stars that are mentioned up in the Bible. You have the Star of Moloch, which was a deity that was worshipped in the Old Testament. And then you also have the Star of Renfram, which is mentioned of in the Bible in Acts chapter 7. So these are these deities that were venerated and worshipped, and so they had a symbol that reminded them of that God or that covenant with that God, right? And so there's also the Tesseract, which is it's many squares within a square, which if you look at the points and they're all turned, it's a star with I don't know the exact number of points, but it's a lot of points. It's a really cool symbol. So this is what these meant to the ancients, and that's not the only meaning for that. Just like the six-pointed star, many people, like I said, think it's the, the Star of David, which to many occultists, it symbolizes as above, so below, meaning that which is taking place in heaven is taking place on earth and also within us. So it's a Kabbalistic symbol as well. The hexagram, the six-pointed star. So
I found it. So here it is. Okay, this is the one I was telling you about, and you can see how this is not like two squares or anything like that. It's a continuous line. If you keep tracing it with a pencil, you go over and over.
So
what
does the book say it is?
The book says, I might have to go get my magnifying glass. They have written so small in here. The octagram or creation. I'm sorry, octagram of creation. It's Gnostic. Also Nordic, an invocation of magic and protection. Oh, that's pretty cool, because my son made that on the 3D printer. Like he's in engineering department at UTA, and so they had some project, and he made that on the 3D printer and gave it to her. So would that be a talisman? Like if you make that on a 3D printer, does it matter that it's made out of plastic? Or does it have to be made out of wood? It doesn't matter. It's a talisman. And as long as when you look at it, it invokes a thought, an idea, or a feeling, right? And so therefore you give it that power. And to you, it literally does have that power. And you can get these necklaces and talismans and charms or whatever, and people put intention into them and send forth healing with them, and they give it to someone. As long as you tell them that, hey, this is here, they can concentrate on that, put their consciousness on that, and be able to feel that energy that you put in there, right? But so many people have these old symbols, and they feel like they have some type of ancient spirit with them, or something that was used in battle or an ancient war or something like that. And they can feel a feeling that comes from that. So it's the same type of deal, that it has this healing vibe with it. So many people was given, that's why they have like the prayer cloth in Christianity, right? They have a prayer that they anoint with oil, and they pray over it, and they send it in the mail. If you're sick or you have demonic possession or whatever the case is, some people believe that it can heal them. And so it's just the cloth in itself. That cloth has no power in and of itself, but to wash yourself with, right? And so when you put your intention with that, and you believe that that's going to happen, once you receive that cloth, that energy and that power is going to transmute to you and become your mantle, and you take it upon you and be healed. Like, it happens spiritually and mentally, it happens to you, and you walk in that, and that's your story, and you believe it, and it's real and true for you. So that's a lot of what we see with faith healing in general. You believe that if this person touches you, Benny Hinn or somebody like that, they touch you, you're going to fall out and be healed. And we see that with Jesus as well. I mean, they believed, if only I can touch the hem of his garment, right? And so let me get there, let me touch the hem of his robe. And so this lady touched the hem of his robe, and she was healed from her ailments. He didn't see her, he didn't look at her, but even with that connected. Oh, but he knew that she touched it. He knew that she touched it.
He felt the energy leave his body, right? So that's so powerful, man. Just your intentions and thoughts, that she knew that if she touched him, she'd be healed. And so there was many people touching him who weren't healed, right? But she knew if she did, she would be healed. So it's the same thing with our thoughts and intentions as well. And whatever we put into any object or any person, or we venerate anyone. So that's what's so powerful with what we do as energy healers and faith healers. We understand that you really have to believe it. You know what I'm saying? You have to expect it. And so the spirit of expectancy is so powerful. And we talk about Christ, we talk about the Son of God or whatever, right? He's going into cities and healing everyone in the city. Like the scriptures testify that he would heal everyone in the city, everyone with demons and ailments and things. He would heal every single one. And then he would go to other cities and nobody would be healed because they knew who he was. Because this is the Son of God with all power and all authority. He couldn't heal people. It's like, hold on, what are you saying? He was weakened by their doubt. Yeah, their doubt and unbelief hindered him from doing what he was supposed to do. And so that happens now, right? And so the scriptures testify that a prophet is without honor in his own home. his own town because they know who he is. Like, hold on, this guy is healing people. This guy's a carpenter. This guy's hanging out with people who are using filthy and foul language. They're drinking on the weekends, and you're talking about this guy as a healer? No. So therefore, it shuts that spirit of expectancy down. The perception is dimmed, and so when they see him, they have a preconceived notion of what's going to happen. But when he would leave outside of his city, he was venerated. They would welcome him in on donkeys, and just give him. Women were washing his feet with with their hair and pouring out the perfume at his feet. But in his own town, he was despised and hated, right? And so he was hindered in what he can do. And we see that all the time. We see that when people know your faults and your shortcomings, they see you and they kind of prejudge you. This person first they were a Christian, now they're a New Ager, now they're into Buddhism, now they're into this. Come on, this person doesn't know what they're going to be. But when you go outside of that realm of existence, you're venerated, where people were just, lives are being changed by the power that you walk in. That's something people got to, because people are so seeking the approval of others. You got to understand that even we look at someone like Jesus, who was a figure for many people, right? A symbol. And so they called him a witch. They said he was a devil worshiper. They said he was healing people by the power of Beelzebub and the power of demons, right? So, if they're doing it to you, did the same thing to him. So you're in good company, right?
You can't win for losing.
Comes with the territory.
Excuse me. I experienced something very similar to that when I was very new at this, and I didn't have my Facebook community to go, cry on their shoulder and go, what's going on here? And to be able to practice with other people. Excuse me. I'm so sorry about my allergies. I would practice on my husband. And at the time, now you guys know that my caveman and clothes has kind of, grown up a little bit in the spiritual realm. But when I first started, it was like, there's nothing to this. You don't know what you're doing. And, this is all fake and false and all that. So I was trying to heal him, and I couldn't penetrate. I just couldn't do it. I was putting as much energy as I could, and it wasn't working. So then it was like, well, I'm just not good at this. I don't know how to heal. It's not working on him. I try to heal his headaches and all kinds of stuff, and it just wasn't working. So I encountered someone then who, needed some healing. And I'm like, can I practice on you? And they're like, sure. So I put forth, the healing. They're like, oh my gosh, Kelli, because it was so strong, the energy that I was sending to them, because to try and break through for my husband, I was having to put out so much energy to do that when I was doing this with another person who was receptive, it was kind of like Niagara Falls on top of them, and it was painful. Since then I learned how to balance and use more of the source energy than anything to do all this healing.
Tap in the source,
do it better. But if people don't believe and they push it away, there's not a whole lot that you can do to help them. That was my experience. You probably experienced the same thing.
Yeah, and so when people have that fear, doubt, and unbelief, people have this this notion that the light, wherever the light goes, it just expels the darkness and the light trumps every time. That's not always the case, right? There's some work to be done, and it seems like there is a polarized power with the doubt, fear, and unbelief, or the naysayers. You can get 1 million comments praising you on social media for your work that you're doing, and you get one negative one, and that one, it seems to bring you down. That's the one you can't forget about, versus the hundreds of comments praising you and thanking you for the work that you bring to the table. And this is even in my experience, right? And so that can bring you down. But once you have to deal with that. So people don't understand that. But once you deal with that, and you get people to move past it. So this is why we're kind of in good company now, and people need to stop. People who want to be healers, people who want to walk in the light, right? This is where you have to stop striving, stop battling, stop debating. You have to cut that crap out. You have to kick that to the curb, man. You have to stop that and understand. Yeah, so you don't need to go out and win anybody. You don't have to go out and proselytize to people and get people to believe you or trick people into believing you. Like, because that was the whole thing with Christianity, and what people do is they got to win people over to their belief system. And so you don't have to do that anymore. You just need to know who you are, and you give that to people, and you walk in that, and you prove that to yourself first. And once you know who you are, nobody can tell you who you are. And if you want true freedom, you'll never experience true freedom until you get over longing for the acceptance of others. So that if you don't know who you are, people can tell you who you are. But that's why you got to come into the knowing and come into who you are as an individual, and that your dreams and aspirations can happen. And they're good, they're good dreams that you're having. And there's a reason you're thinking this way. And there's a reason that these dreams are inside of you, and you can have them, right? So they're there for a reason. And once you understand that, no one can stop you. And it also goes along, and it's so powerful when I look at Christ, where he said, I pray not for the world, but I pray for the ones that you have given me out of the world. So this is the fact where he doesn't even go trying to win people, right? He just understands that, okay, I have people around me. You have people around you. You have people on your job site. You have family members. You have people that you pass along in the stores on your daily commute, right? That you have, these are the people that he has given you. The person you see every day in the checkout line, the person at the bank, whatever the case is, these people that he has given you, these are in your immediate circle. So you deal with these people, right? And eventually, once you're faithful with these people, you're faithful into pouring into these people and you know what I'm saying, realizing their need and their hurt, and you're going to minister to that, then the circle begins to expand. More people begin to come. And you don't have to buy ads and advertise and try to sell things to people. You just present who you are. You walk in the light, and these people will come because they're going to be drawn to that same light. They're going to be, they want what you have, and they want what you have to offer. There's no more striving. There's no more debating. There's no more finger pointing. You just be you, because you're the only person who can do that. I'm telling you, once you do that, you see all these chains of bondage, and these chains just fall off. Easy. Things that you've been fighting with your whole life just fall off. Once you give up caring, you just stop caring. Like, that's a hard place to get to. It sounds easy. Well, I don't care what people say about me, but you still do. Really just throw that off and just be in the peace and be in rest. And in that, people are going to long for that. So if you want to be a healer, first you have to be healed. You want to walk in the light. You want other people to do that. It can happen, but first you have to do that yourself. So.
We've got some people over here that are like, can TruthSeekah tell me about his altar? Is it a singing bowl? They want to know about on the table next to you. What's going on?
Yeah, it's getting crowded, man. I'm burning copal right now, which I always try to promote this stuff because I love it so much. Now
it's copal, like COPAL.
Copal, it's copal incense or copal resin. You can get it on Amazon. This incense burner my wife made for me, custom. She just made it out of like some kind of clay or putty or whatever.
Oh wow! So, can you show us? I mean, don't bend it over too far, but is that like symbols in there? It's like
she put a symbol in.
Oh, can you up a little? There you go. There you go.
Kind of resembles the caduceus symbol, right? The caduceus. Also, what people try to tie into the symbol on the dollar symbol or whatever. But even the caduceus symbol is a powerful symbol as well, because we look at it, it's like the medical symbol, right? And so you see different different aspects of it. Some is just it's just a stake or a stick with a serpent wrapped around it, right? And so in the Old Testament, when people were getting sick or getting bit by snakes and things like that, Moses sought God and said, okay, how can I heal the people? He said, you get a stick, wrap a serpent around it, and you lift that serpent up on that stick, and when the people look upon that serpent, they're going to be healed. And so there goes our thinking of the serpent symbol as being the devil or being something evil. So we looked at the serpent as a means of healing when it was lifted up, right? And so even in symbolism, the serpent in ancient Egypt mythology as well is they have the serpent protruding off of the headdress out of the third eye, meaning this third eye being awakened, this serpent coming out, which the serpent represents wisdom. And this is what Jesus understood as well. Why? Because Jesus went to Egypt and was taught in Egypt as well. As a kid, he had more knowledge than all of the rabbis. I mean, even as a 12-year-old kid, whenever he went to Egypt to learn, right? And so that's why Jesus says, be wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves. So he understood that the serpent was a symbol of wisdom. So there's the caduceus, the serpent, or two serpents wrapped around the stake with wings coming off of it, and symbolizing the third eye being awakened, or symbolizing the spine. So the stake symbolizing the spine and the 33 vertebrae, and awakening the kundalini as the kundalini rises from the base of your spine and it protrudes out of your forehead, right? The third eye is awakened. The caduceus is a very powerful symbol symbolizing awakening. So that's one of my favorites. But that's a form of caduceus on the incense burner. But I have some incense. I have this right here is frankincense, bunch of frankincense, which my wife also got me. She's so cool.
I love that. Is it like a crystal, or is that something you burn?
It's resin. It's resin. You can
okay.
burn it. You can burn it. I like to. It's pretty hard, but if you get this stuff and you work it in your fingers a whole bunch, it's really hard right now. But the more you work it and push it in, it becomes a wax. It becomes really soft, right?
Oh.
So whenever you smell it, it brings forth healing to your body as well. This is also, they gave Jesus frankincense when he was born. Like, they understood the healing properties of it, and so I like to work it in my fingers, turn it into a kind of like a wax or whatever, and I'll stick it on my body. I'll just stick it somewhere and you could just feel it. Your body absorbing the healing power.
Really,
of the frankincense.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, which is my brother-in-law, her husband, he has a meniscus tear, and he wants to heal it naturally. So I was helping her research all of the things that you take to heal it naturally, and one of the things it recommended was frankincense.
Mm-hmm. You can also get it in the essential oils as well. And it's real powerful to burn it there. And so just by smelling it,
mm-hmm.
it brings healing to your body as well. And it smells so good. It makes you feel a certain type of way. That's where you get, aromatherapy from. You smell certain smells that put your body in a state of euphoria by smelling lavender, making you really relaxed, or you're burning the copal, and it's doing certain things to your body as you absorb it.
So if he got that frankincense and somehow like wrapped it or put it under a Band-Aid or something on his knee and
mm-hmm.
just had it there, would that be beneficial to him?
It'd definitely be beneficial. It'd definitely be beneficial. I feel amazing whenever I'm using it, and I've used it for people who have had headaches as well. So people come to me with headaches, and so I'll give them that and do a blessing upon them as well, and use crystals or whatever to pull that negative energy out, that way from headaches.
Wow, I'm learning a lot. I love it when I talk to you. I learned so much.
It's it's kind of practical stuff. It's not, well, for me it is at this point. I don't know. But I got some sage or whatever, and then so, sage was burned by the Native American Indians, and they believed that it cleared the area of negative entities. And so all the, whenever they would do a holy convocation or go into the spirit realm, they would burn this. And so all of the, the negative influence would get out of the way, right? And so, and here's the thing as far as what you believe and the power of your belief. Does that really work? Does this get rid of negative energies? Does this if they're really there, does it get them out the way? Does it really happen? If it works for you, like if you believe it, it
mm-hmm. works.
In this situation, it totally works. So therefore, when you burn it, you go into this consciousness, this conscious awareness that it happens. And guess what? It does. So all of this stuff is just like a symbol. It's just like a talisman. If it works, if it doesn't work, I don't know. If we're to say, but I do know that if we believe it works, it works.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when we do blessing or we go into trance, a lot of times we'll burn the think it's called Palo Santo wood.
Huh, I've never seen that.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a really sweet wood that you could burn, and it kind of does the same thing as the sage or whatever to clear the area of negative influences and promote blessing as well. So this is some real good stuff. All this stuff you can buy online. It's not illegal or anything like that. You can use it. And like I said, the copal, man, is, I think everyone should have this stuff, man. It, when you want to thin the veil of reality and you want to kind of go into trance, you could burn the copal, and that's what the Mayans and Aztecs would burn before they would go into ritual as well. So
did you get a little crazy on one of the last shows when you were burning the head?
I am now. Yeah, every time I burn it, it's really weird, but I like it a lot because I like being in that state. You know what I'm saying? So, and plus, I just did a healing session a while ago, and I burn it when I go into a healing session because it helps me go into trance very easy and move some things around. So I always burn that whenever I do a healing session myself. For someone, and very powerful stuff. So you can find that on all this stuff's on Amazon too, man. You can get it really cheap. Get your Amazon Prime account. You can get a trial account on Amazon, and it'll be there the next day or the day after. So you don't have to wait 2 weeks for it to come. You want it right now. Amazon Prime, it's like there the next day or the day after. So I'm addicted to Amazon Prime, man. That's what all this stuff is coming in. It's always stuff I ordered on Prime, like. This is a box of CDs. I got my CDs just came in for my big show next week, and also got taking the podcast that we're doing, taking it to the next level, and cleaned out my spare room. I'm gonna move everything into that room, man. It's really to set that up just for that, and so I got like a retractable arm for the microphone for the podcast and everything, taking that stuff to the next level on the website too. So many plans, man, here in the close future, and so going into trance. So why I promote this stuff is not just to do it for the hell of it, but it's to go in with the intention, right? So just going into trance or getting messed up or whatever you want to do it for. Hey, it makes you feel cool. It's not just for that. That's a benefit to me. It makes you feel really good, right? But you go into trance and you go into the spirit realm with the intention of getting information about your destiny, communing with your higher self. What am I supposed to do in life? So going into that realm, you're able to get that. And so that's what I do. I help people go into that trance. I help set up encounter so that people can do that. So as a healer, I'm teaching you to go in there for yourself and find the answers for yourself. And so all of this stuff is beneficial to use whenever you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Someone has asked about, I had to look this one up. It's ANKH. And when I looked it up,
yeah.
Yes. Now here, yeah, this is the symbol right here that they're referring to. I looked it up. So what's up with that? I've seen this in a lot of places.
Yeah, well, it's another deviation of the cross as well. So we look at it. It's very similar to the cross, but I believe the ancient Egyptians used it as a fertility symbol, right? And so you have the penis and the vagina at the top as well. So it's a symbol of life to them, right? And it's also a symbol that you use as a rite of passage into the afterlife. It's believed by many.
Would that be like the key of the Nile? Because anytime I hear key, isn't that like getting into the afterlife key?
Yeah, you have it with you. Yeah, have it with you to have access into the afterlife. And so there's many, like I said, many variations of that symbol. And then you have the solar cross, which would be like the cross with the circle not above it, like but the circle around it, right? And so you have, and so that would be the cross. It would be the solar cross, right? So this is the center of the zodiac. You have a cross, right? And so that's what it's used as, the center of the zodiac, and which is known as the solar cross. And so, which is a powerful symbol as well. You'll even see that on many churches as well, using the symbol of the solar cross. Or you have what is known as the cross and crown, which there's many Protestant churches that go by the name Cross and Crown Ministries, or you'll see a crown with a cross sticking through it, which is a Freemason and Rosicrucian symbol as well, the cross and crown.
I'm sitting here flipping through the pages trying to find these, trying to find all these symbols that you're talking about, so I can show them. I mean, you're describing them very well, so I don't think they need the images. Now we're getting into the crosses. Of course we are.
Or even so, like whenever you're looking at symbolism and what it means to a certain cult or certain gang sign, I think it's the perfect example would be someone driving through you know, a gang related area, usually the bad parts of town, and you see all of this graffiti everywhere and all of these symbols and names and stuff written upside down and things like that. To you, you have no idea what you're looking at, right? This is just some kind of gang graffiti or whatever. But to other people, those signs and symbols mean something, right? So to them, they have meaning, whether it's gang territory or marking out someone who is a target, in a rival gang, and they cross out their name and things like that. So whether you have like the folk symbol, which is the pitchfork symbol that's used as well. So all of these symbols, so it's until you do the knowledge and do the study of what it means to them, that's what it means to them. But what it means to you could be something totally different as well.
Here's what I found on this. This is the one I think you were talking about, the one with the circle.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another variation of it. And then we've got all kinds of crosses on all ranges and stuff like this. Yeah, there's a lot going on with the crosses.
Yeah, so it's not just one symbol, and so there's, like I said, with the cross and with the stars and all of that, so it's a little bit of variation with that.
We've got good morning, love you both. Oh, this is from Scott. TruthSeekah, love your music, very open-minded to many things. I noticed in your personal videos that your daughter goes to a Christian school. How does your daughter's school feel about your awesome music? Oh, good question.
I try, at this point, I try to tell her to be quiet about it,
That's hard.
I don't want her to be targeted, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want her to be targeted. But in the past, when she started going to Christian school, like it was I was doing Christian music, right? I was doing gospel music. So like, oh, my daddy's a Christian rapper, right? So now it's like she's still proud that her dad raps or whatever the case is, but I try not to share a lot of the subject matter with children anyway, like because a lot of my music is deeper, and I've had people come at me in the past, different Christian people, and say like, you're going to be influencing kids to get into Manly P. Hall. You're going to be influencing kids to really get into some of these deeper subjects. And although that could be true to an extent, but obviously there's not a lot of little kids listening to my music. They're not going to understand it, so they're not going to listen to it. Although I have songs that that they could get into, but the majority of my stuff, adults have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. So I'm not really worried about children getting into my music and listening to it like, oh, what's, So yeah, that's where I'm at this point. So it was funny too, because I was at work the other day, and we just merged companies with this other company. So there's all these new people in there working, and they know I'm a rapper or whatever. And I think most of them thought I was still doing gospel. That's what most people think I do locally anyway. And so this guy, he's like this really, really country guy, right? And he's like, he actually calls me hippie. Hey, hippie. It's like, hey, hippie, they were just playing your music in the office, man. I'm
really
playing your music and seen one of your videos. And I'm thinking, like I got so much stuff. There's even a lot of old gospel stuff on there too. I'm thinking, okay, which one was it, man? Which one did you hear? Which video? He said, it was the one where you was rapping about Scientology. I was like, Scientology? I don't have no song about Scientology. So they're seeing all of the symbolism and the alien and the
so they're judging you on symbols
because they have no idea what the hell it is. So there's like, it's a alien. He's talking about he's an alien. He's in a UFO cult. That's Scientology. They believe in UFO cults or whatever. So that's why we're in the Bible Belt, man. So that's all that going on. So thank God the internet's here, where people all over the world and like attracts like, and people who are into this stuff can find me and not think I'm starting a UFO cult or a into Scientology or something, you know.
Yeah, I think it's human nature to try and put everybody in a category because it makes them feel better. So
I don't fit any of them.
Don't fit in a category, so they're
Any
having
of them. I refuse to fit. I refuse to fit any of them. I've told you that in the past, and I really don't. I don't even like the term New Age, man. People are like, oh, he does New Age music now, or now he's in the New Age, and they may mean it as a good thing or whatever, right? But where I'm from in the South, when the Christians use the term New Age, it's means something bad, right?
Yeah,
So
you're
stay
going
away
to hell.
from it. Yeah, he's in the New Age now. So they'll say something like meditation. I'm in the meditation. I'm in the yoga, and so they had this umbrella, this blanket statement, New Age, and I can't defend that statement either. Like, oh no, the New Age is blah blah blah. Like, you have to break down what it is, and we can deal with each belief system or each science or whatever the case is, each understanding where we can explain it and break it down for you. I can't use blanket statements like that. I can't do anything with them. And I think the reason I don't identify with the term New Age is because it's nothing new. What I'm dealing with is something very old, right? This is something that was practiced by our ancestors, by the ancients, by ancient Egyptians, the Hebrews. So this is a spirituality that is way older than what we have today in the mainstream West. So I don't practice anything new. Everything that I'm into, that I study, is all from ancient texts. This is all way older than anything that's going on here. So I don't identify with that term New Age. So, you know.
Yeah, and the New Age movement, religion, whatever you want to call it, is basically to sabotage those who came here to wake up and to do things on this planet. And they've got them into the mentality that if you think of anything negative, or you read any article about something bad that might happen, then you're going to manifest it and make it happen. So what they do is they have you focus on love and light all the time, and you ignore the fact that there are homeless people that don't eat right outside your front door, and that the government is taking all your rights away. And it causes people to get in a state of inaction, just where they don't do anything at all. They just stay in their bubble of love and light. And if you come into my bubble with anything but love and light, I'm going to reject it. So this is basically a ploy by the government and those that are in charge of this planet to keep everybody in the dark and not act and not do anything.
Yeah, the Christian church actually operates the same way. You know, once something different comes in, or someone's negative or negativity comes in, they say run from it, right? Or this person is demonic, or this person is cursed because God is hurting this person or cursing this person, so stay away from that person, right? Or someone comes with an understanding that they don't agree with, or they don't know, they demonize what they don't understand. And so once you really understand the power of duality, and so this is just a part of our very nature, and even so much a part of the God that they claim to follow, Yahweh, you understand that duality is in all things, and that it's a good thing, right? So there's bad things that happen for a good reason, to teach a lesson. You know, there's allowed things that are allowed to come upon you or whatever. And so once you learn to respond to that and deal with that, that's one thing. There's these different levels that we go through in life and in spirituality, that bad things happen to us so that we learn from them, right? Or we get ourselves in a situation that is kind of bad, but we have to learn from it so we won't repeat it over, and we'll have wisdom for the next time. So there's that situation that happens, and then there's also people get caught in ruts with having spiritual oppression on them, and so they're in a bad place, and it's something that they've opened the door to, or something that's crept in that's got them in a state of confusion or a state of darkness, and they need someone to help them get out of. So a lot of it we can look within and see what's going on and respond to the things that's happening to us, and kind of get out of it ourselves. But many times we need the help of a healer, of a light worker, to help us, who understand how the spirit world works and how the universe works with universal law. And so that's where we come in. You know, we're here to help people, and so all we can do is really minister to and speak on the things that we know that worked for us. Like, I can't tell you anything else but what worked for me. I refuse to speak on it. So it becomes more of an idea or a belief system versus believing something that is tangible. something that works. I don't want to believe in a spirituality or a god or a goddess or a demon or an entity that doesn't work for me. Like if it's not real, if it's not tangible, if it doesn't affect me, I don't want to believe in it, right? And so it really doesn't matter. I want something real, and I think that's what our generation is looking for as well. They want something real. They don't want something like to believe a fairy tale or whatever the case is, or read something that doesn't appeal to them. They want something real. And so everything that I believe in, it's stuff that's helped me and impacted me in a positive manner to get me to the place where I am now. And so it's all real. So I try to help people experience that same experience and encounter as well. And so the stuff that's just superficial that comes and goes, I pass it along, get over it, and I'm done. And so the stuff that benefits me, the stuff that helps me, I try to make it apply to my life, and so that it can help me and help others as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the going back to the new age, this is kind of an example of what happens. They're like, love conquers all, positivity conquers all, but they lack the action. So it's kind of like someone, God, please bring that person into my life that's, going to complete me and be my soulmate and all that. But they sit at home every night on their couch and they never go out of their house.
Yeah.
They don't put any action to it. They just expect the universe to just everything to fall into place. So it's a balance of both. And like the one where you've heard this joke before, where the flood waters were rising and the guy's like, oh, God's gonna save me.
Yeah.
So we finally get up, he's on the roof. Here comes a guy. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna get in your boat with you. God's gonna save me. And then here comes the helicopter. It's like, no, I'm not getting in your helicopter. God's gonna save me. So the water rises and the guy drowns and he goes to heaven. And it's like, God, you were gonna save me. What happened? He's like, well, I sent a boat and a helicopter. What more do you want?
Yeah.
From me?
Yeah.
So there's got to be some action. People are like, they have an understanding that, yes, we are in this holographic video game, but it's not all done with thought. We're in physical bodies, and we have to use these physical bodies in this reality to make stuff happen, along with the mental belief and the intent with it. Yeah.
And I relate it all back to Christianity. I came out of Christianity, and I see them doing that as well, man. So they have this belief system and they confess with their mouth that they believe a certain thing, but their actions prove something else, right? Just like the New Ages, it's all love and light. Well, why are you so negative? Why don't you help people, right? So in Christianity, you find these people trying to do outreach and save souls and minister and win people to help people, but you won't help the ones that you have now. Like, why are you kicking them to the curb when they're the ones with you that need help? You'd rather just go, like, move on or whatever. So there's all of these things and these benefits of walking in the spirit and having a spiritual life, that it's not just to benefit you to feel good. Like, I love trance, I love my music, I love all of this. It's for a reason. It makes me feel good, it makes me feel great. But if I don't use it and put it into practical play and like practical work that helps people in their day-to-day life, then none of this stuff makes sense, because we see successful people who have no spirituality whatsoever, right? And they don't even believe this stuff exists, but yet they have a good life, or whatever the case is, and so they're not caught up in all the hysteria and all of the stuff that comes along with spirituality or Christianity or whatever the case is. So if you can't put it into terms where it can help the person who needs it, like if you can't help the person who is depressed, if you can't help the person who is suffering, then all of this it's not real for you. It's a game. And it's nothing to play with. That's the biggest thing. It's like you're playing with something that you don't understand. And so this the occult and spirituality and all of this is very real, but you need to make it plain. You need to make it something that you can incorporate into your daily practice that helps you. It helps others as well. So.
Now, this is getting into a little bit of numerology, but it's still symbolism at the same time, because 666. that has been so demonized. Now, I'm not saying this is the end all chart, but I look at the angel numbers. When I look things up, I look at angel numbers. So 666, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a compilation of the energies and attributes to the number 6, including honesty, justice, integrity, charity. This doesn't sound at all satanic. Faith, love, humanity, service, balance, and peace. Responsibility, care, the teacher, conventional, the provider, protection, idealism, selflessness, charity, faithfulness, the nurturer, truth, order, economy, emotional depth, curiosity, deep love of home and family. It's I can't even read it. I'm not even halfway through. So that doesn't sound like, you know, this is like of Satan. So why did 666 get demonized? Like what's going on with that? Who did?
And here's the thing. Here's the answer.
What sorcery is this?
I don't know, and really nobody else does. So if you see a breakdown on it, and you see somebody teaching on what it means and what it is, they don't know. And it's just like these symbols as well. Most people have no idea what these symbols mean. I think for the most part, they're going to be demonized by a lot of people. 666, whatever. 666 in the Bible represents the number of a man. What they say, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons is encoded on this planet we live on.
That doesn't sound negative, does it?
311. It's not negative. It just represents man. So just letting you know that, man in general is going to be like your biggest enemy. Like you're going to be your own biggest enemy. Like your enemy is man, yourself. And so it's something that we all have to deal with, whether it's like the lower self, right? And so this is the beast, the primordial nature that we're trying to overcome, those habitual things, like taking the easy way out. So that's what it represents for many people as well. So you see people doing this symbol or this, and people think it means 666 because you have 3 6s or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's really I don't think anybody knows.
Everything's fine. That's what it means to me.
Yeah, well, it means the devil and the Antichrist or whatever. So anything Antichrist.
I'll not tell anybody that everything's okay in the future then.
So the devil and the Antichrist is something that's within yourself that you have to battle, right? You have to battle your own demons, and the only thing that the things that are anti you becoming Christ, right, or anti you having a relationship with Christ, which is what we said before, love. Like what is stopping you from walking in love? What is stopping you from coming to your full potential? And so that's what you have to deal with, the Antichrist.
Here's another one, and we'll get off of numbers in just a second, but this is really interesting what this person says, and I just looked it up under the angel numbers on 333, and then I'll tell you about their question. But 333, according to angel numbers, they always try to put a positive spin on it, is basically that your ascended masters are near you, you're being assisted, you're serving your divine purpose and your soul mission. It refers to Jesus and light working, and has something about this long of positive things that are associated with it. But what this person is saying, I've heard it's a sign from ascended masters, has biblical meanings, and lately I've been hearing it is connected to demonic entities. In scary movies, stuff always happens at 3:33 a.m. Interesting.
Yeah, I said that in one of my songs on the new album. My new album is entitled 333. So,
you demonic entity, you.
So I have when people say, well, 333 is only half of 666, so it's only half equal, right? Sounds
like a baby demon.
So, nah, it's a good thing, right? So I've had close friends the same way. They think that it means something evil, right? But no, like from my studies and from my experiences with it, represents synchronicity. And it definitely represents the ascended masters contacting you, or angelic contact, which we say, and referring that to Jesus. Jesus was what? An ascended master, and it's even biblical. They called him rabbi. Rabbi means master, teacher. They called him master. What did he do? He ascended. Christ is an ascended master, even in a biblical example, right? So it's when they're contacting you, they let you see it. They let you see numerology. It's usually 333, 444, 1111, 2s and 5s as well. But 333 being the most common right now, speaking to a lot of people. And so it really represents that when you see it, that it's confirmation that you are on the right path. We've been seeing these numbers for a long time, but they've just been passing by. You know, there wasn't as much emphasis on these numbers as it is now, right? So it means it's spirit letting you know that, hey, you're on the right path. Keep doing what you're doing. Follow these symbols. Follow the signs. So it's almost as you see Source putting out breadcrumbs for you and showing you different synchronicities and leading you to different places to letting you know that we are all connected and that this thing is planned out and well thought out. And you're in the right place at the right time. Don't fret. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. But press in. And when you see it, press in. Get quiet. Go into that quiet place, that secret place, and try to commune. Commune with your higher self. Commune with God, with the Holy Spirit, and say, okay, what are you trying to show me? And so you have a lot of things like this, which is just your portal in. It's like the Holy Spirit. I go to the Holy Spirit, go through Jesus, and they'll show you other things. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Melchizedek wants to meet with you. The green light beings, right? So whatever the case is, you go into, and sometimes it's usually a portal. People go through Jesus to make sure everything's okay. They go through the Holy Spirit, whatever deity they deal with, the archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, all this. And so you go in, but through that door you go through, like, opens up a whole new existence, right? So we see all of this stuff. We're talking about 3:33 a.m. That's what I say. In my song, I said 3:33 a.m. awaken when things go bump in the night, and I'm raptured to sacred places, raptured by a golden light. So this is known as many as the witching hour, right? So we see all of these things happening at 3:33 a.m. or 3 o'clock a.m. So it's believed by the ancient Hebrews that 3 o'clock in the morning was the hour that the veil between the spirit realm and the physical plane is at its thinnest. So all of these spirits are coming through, and it's also believed that it's the hour when you have the most authority and power for prayer. So many people will wake up, and whether they have an encounter at that moment, they may not have an encounter, but they'll just be waking up. And I say unto you, I just say, whenever you wake up, take advantage of it, because it's usually Source waking you up to let you know that, okay, there's some things that you've been believing for. There's some things that you want to happen. Begin to speak to those things in this hour, and they'll manifest quicker. It'll happen. There'll be strongholds that will be loosened. Like a lot of times you'll wake up and you'll have thoughts of a loved one or a friend upon you, and you can begin to pray for them and release bondages off of them in that hour. So it's believed that the veil is thinnest at 3 o'clock a.m. And so that's when we see all of this stuff happening. So people will just wake up for no reason. And then so you have to really just kind of put the thought and intention out there and ask, okay, what do you want? Why am I waking up? Get up and go sit on the couch just for a few minutes and just see what happens. And you usually find that you're taken to the next level, and you can do so much there. You be, like I said, so it could be, you wake up with an impression of somebody on your heart that's going through a rough time right now, and you'll just be led to intercede for them and things. So that's my experience with it, and it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been called at like 3:30 in the morning, and I go outside and there's these spaceships that are out there. It's kind of like, can take my picture. So yeah, that's a very interesting time of night that stuff happens. It's about 3:33. We've got what about the symbol of the phoenix? Because this is what happened to me. And I don't know if this has anything to do with the drawn symbol or what's going on, but part of my spiritual awakening, when things were opening up and I was encountering a lot of stuff, I walk into my bedroom and there is this energy being in the shape of a phoenix. It's multicolored. All the energy is coming from roughly the chest area, and then it's coming out, and the energy formed, wings, the body, the tail, the head, and then the energy would stop at a definite, shape. But it was continually coming from the middle part. Just every color you can even imagine was just constantly coming out the whole time. And it was in the middle of my room, just like right in the middle of over my bed. And it was so freaking powerful. And it was part of an awakening where I came into some knowledge, and I grew as a person, and I had upgrades with my body, and I encountered the Phoenix. So why is the Phoenix associated with like the Illuminati and death and destruction and all of that? So if it's so bad, why did I encounter it and have a positive experience with it? So what's going on with the Phoenix?
Well, the Phoenix is a symbol of new life. It's what we would put in layman's terms, a minor setback for a major comeback. So a lot of times you have these things happening to you that your back's against the wall. You seem like you're done with, that you know, it's time to give up and throw in the towel, but you kind of reach deep down for that last effort, which symbolizes the Phoenix rising from the ashes in mythology. And it represents new life. It represents those who are being born again, who are given a second chance at life, right? And a second chance to try something over. So that's what it means. That's what it symbolizes. So when you're seeing that symbolism, you know, that's what it represents to you. And if you haven't had that second chance, just know that it's there for you to reach deep down and embrace your second chance. And you know what I'm saying, you're rebirthing. And so as the Phoenix rises out of the ashes, so that's our spirits. It's a symbol of our spiritual man just rising from the ashes as well, which happens to so many people. And so when you begin to see all these symbols, just know that it's something that's going to happen. Like you see it one time, that's one thing, but it's brought up in conversation, it's in movies, it's in a story, it's in a coloring book, whatever. You start seeing it over and over. Just know that it's there. You know, you can really reach in and embrace that understanding, which is it's a spirit. It's a spirit of understanding and a spirit of new life and spirit of overcoming. So yeah.
I think that I kind of accidentally did something, and you tell me your opinion if you think there's something else at play, you know, outside of me. Because if I just sat down, it's like, what should I do? And, you know, wrote it all out. This could not have happened so perfectly. But I'm having a day at Wicked Designs. They're doing all the graphics for the tour, and they're doing the graphics for my makeup and skincare company. And this is basically, I guess now this is all in retrospect. I wasn't looking at this when this was happening. I'm looking at it now, and especially after what you just said, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this has happened. I wore a necklace, and this was kind of the inspiration. This was a necklace. You guys know I never wear jewelry. I never have it on. I always have to remind myself to put on my fake wedding ring. But anyway, this is the necklace that I had on, and it inspired her for the logo for my company, because the short, nice version of what happened is I had severe supplier issues with my company, to the point where my company just could not move forward anymore with the supplier. So I had to cut ties with the supplier, which basically shut down my company when this happened. So I am dealing with a laboratory now that is working with me to get back all of these products, plus at least 100 more products that are natural, organic, and that are good for you. So I learned a lot of lessons in the 10 months that I had this company, and it feels like I went through the fire when it was like, okay, now we're going to start labeling. When we were looking at the labeling, the supplier had redone everything and almost exactly copied what we did on the website and all the packaging. Yeah. So I was in a situation where it was like I was forced to change everything, which I loved it before. It looked like it was department store quality, but it didn't have my heart in it. So when I said something about, let's do, something with maybe silver and something, I don't know. For some reason, I was told fire. And that is all I told her. And she took this image of my necklace, and she worked this up. Let me see if you can see this. And I didn't give her any instructions at all. And this is what they created. If you look right there, seriously, we've got the flames on the bottom that you can see how it's so similar, the flames to the necklace. That's like absolutely amazing. But then they added this, and I was like, oh my gosh, We got some, it's not complete and full, but we've got some phoenix in there. We've got wings like a phoenix and all that. And then suddenly it hit me that from all the yuckiness before, this whole thing is being reborn, and it's something that is so much better than it was going to be the way that it was handled before. So this is all in retrospect, looking at that, it makes sense once it comes out of your mouth. It makes sense to me that this evolved itself. You know, this is not something I just put on paper. So, I mean, what's your opinion on that? Is this the universe working with me? Like, how did this develop itself? Seriously.
Yeah, shout out to Day, man. Day's really cool. Her and her husband, man. Yeah, so I mean, it's perfect example, right? It's a perfect example, and so the symbol, whenever you see that symbol, it's going to mean so much more to you than just something you've seen in a cartoon or a movie, right? So you're gonna that's gonna symbolize the you know, the toiling and the effort that you put in, and how your back was against the wall, and then something brand new was birthed out of it. So that's exactly what the symbol means, in perfect example for you and what you're doing. So that's awesome. It's an awesome story.
Yeah, and this is a revolution. I mean, this is not about makeup. This is not about skincare. This is a revolution in doing things differently than we've ever done it before. And you are doing the same thing. You're doing something that's never been done before, and you're a pioneer as well. So you're a part of this revolution as well. So do you feel kind of like you're the phoenix, that you've kind of been through the mucky muck?
Oh yeah.
Burned up and rebirthed again?
Totally. More than once now. But yeah, it's a process, and like you said, you're in it, I'm in it, and I think the majority of people watching this are in it too, and they're part of it, right? So I mean, you know what I'm saying, why would they want to watch this long? But this is something that is imparted unto them as well. So it's something that you know, resonates with them, and most people are looking for their part and where they fit and how they can be used in the midst of this. And so yeah, this is what everything is about. The awakening in general, the awakening of a culture, of a generation who are looking for where they belong. And so that's what we represent. And so it's something bigger than us, and everybody's a part of it. So it's not just me, it's not just you. It represents everyone being a part of a family. So it's really really grateful to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it comes with responsibility. So people need to understand that as well. It comes with much responsibility to be on the forefront of something like this that's going on and taking place, where people are listening, and people are, you know, you're playing with people's livelihood, you're playing with people's spirituality, and that stuff's not taken lightly, and it shouldn't be. So a lot of people are experiencing this awakening, and it's also like what we're doing too. Like, even like with where I'm at now, it's just like the layers are evolving, man. And we're just doing these monthly webinars, even on my website, where like we have like membership on there, where like people can help and get access to the live webinars that we're doing. So this is something where we have a different guest in every month, and it's usually what we're going to be doing is doing like Kundalini breath work and helping people go into trance and doing all this together. And so it's like we're getting the podcast and getting everything rolled out to really launch. And we're doing the first one this Saturday, and we're going to be doing a live webinar on the website at TruthSeekah.com. And it's weird because, like, for me, I had to get the go ahead to do it, right? Like, it's something that maybe a part of me wanted to do a long time ago, but I had to go through all of this stuff. I had to get a lot of stuff out the way and deal with my stuff and finish my album and, you know, roll all of this stuff out the way to get ready. I had to take some precautions and do some preparations and some sanctification stuff that I had to do myself before I was, you know what I'm saying, given the go ahead to do it. So now we're doing it. We're getting everything on the website ready to do. And the first webinar is this Saturday, where John Illuminati Congo will be leading the breathwork session, which is going to be amazing. He's awesome at what he does, and it's cool. So the timing is perfect because there's so many people who want to be a part of it, right? There's so many people who are looking for fellowship. There are so many people who are looking for someone that has been through the same things that they believe in. So it's like tight-knit group of people that we're all a part of it. So people are like begging me, like, man, I want to come, or I want to be a part of what you guys are doing. The prayer and the prophetic blessing and things like this, the impartation that we do locally, but we're just making it available to the world now, right? So it's something that everyone can be a part of, and we have like webmasters and people who are helping with this ascension, man. And this is just grassroots, right? It's not like a big corporation or anything. This is something grassroots that we're throwing together, and I'm super excited that we're rolling this out now. And I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I have a vision and a plan, and but all of these people are being added to it, and all of these people are just confirming everything. And I'm super excited to be a part of it. And
yeah, you use the keyword timing. And timing is everything. And a lot of us have been so frustrated that it's like, why aren't we, doing this right now? But when it starts to happen, they suddenly realize I either needed to learn some things, or some other people had to catch up on some level. So the timing thing is really important. And I remember, this is back when I went to church and everything. I remember that it was just basically going through the motions every Sunday. And then we had a revival where we had this speaker come into town. We were in like a small town, so we had a stage set up at the high school stadium where we played football. So we had a stage there. A lot of people in town came, and I got really, into it and excited. And then after that was gone, you still have that excitement, but then you go back to church and it's like you were not getting fed at all. So I remember thinking, and I've told the pastor, I'm like, I think it's been like 6 months. It's like, I think we need another revival, because, you get into a place where your heart is not in it. You're just going through the motions. You don't feel anything. But when we had that revival, and, they were all doing everything wrong. That's not the point. But when we were having a revival, you were so energized, and that's how you want to be all the time. And after I got out of church, that's how I feel, is like I'm energized all the time, instead of desperately needing a revival. I mean, what's the concept behind revival and all that? I mean, you understand the church concept, and how is it that we're able to stay in that very uplifted place, not being in church?
Wow. Yeah. So revival now with churches, what you really see is you think it's a revival. And when I first got saved and I first got into church, like, I wanted God all the time. I wanted to feel that power, that Holy Spirit all the time. I was addicted to it. Like I was addicted to smoking pot every day. I wanted it. Right. So we would be driving and say, hey, there's a church in revival. There's another church in revival. So we would go to these random churches that were in revival. And what it really is the fact that they may not be in revival. That just means they're going to be doing church 7 nights that week, And so that's really what it is. It's like they're just going to be doing church 7 nights, or they have a speaker coming in or whatever. It has nothing to do with revival. But I will tell you what my experience was, my personal revival, when I came out of my darkness and I gave my heart completely to God, completely to source, is when I found that I was transformed. I was that phoenix coming out of the fire, right? And I was just vibrating with energy, vibrating with love. And I wanted everyone to feel that same feeling. And I think that's where that energy comes from, that we can feel it. And it's not something that gets burned out, because we have a passion for people. We have a passion for people to feel that same spirit, to have that same encounter. Like, okay, if you pray, if you meditate, if you do Kundalini yoga, this will happen. I'm not lying. Like, this will happen. You can feel, you can go into a trance state and feel the power of God, of the Holy Spirit, of Kundalini awakening, of source. Once you're connected with that energy, there's nothing that can stop you, right? So we see this revival happening with one person. And this revival doesn't take a group of people coming together and agreeing like, okay, it's time for revival. You get so hungry for the things of God. You get so hungry for truth that you just overflow with it. So your cup runneth over, right? And so you can't contain it. It's a fire within your bones that you cannot keep quiet. You cannot keep it to yourself. So it just naturally just overflows into people telling them about your encounter, creating an encounter for people, but doing it with a sense of wisdom that you're not running people off. So we see a lot of that going on, right? So people are so overflowing with truth and knowledge and justice, and we're forcing it on people till you run them off. Like they may agree with you and go with you or whatever to this place, but you end up running people off and hurting people. So that's why it has to be organic. But with that revival, man, it could start with one person, this flame within you that is ignited, and no man can put it out because no man lit it for you. This is something that Source did when you connect it and you have your encounter, and then it starts, right? And so our personal journey, man, we was in the Christian church when it happened, right? And so we went into the Christian church, and so we went to the services, and you were like you're saying, it's good. We're trying to absorb what we can, but we just wasn't there. Like it wasn't happening.
It's empty. It's just an empty feeling.
It's the main problem with religion is what I found. When people have a genuine encounter with the divine and then they get plugged into a church, they think they're going to recreate that encounter. But sometimes they feed you, you get into it a little bit or whatever, but you receive all of the dogma, and you give up one bondage in order to receive another bondage, the bondage of religion. So that's the whole problem with that. But when you are overwhelmed with the spirit, so you're able to take that, and it's something that's transferable as well. And it's something that people desperately want and desperately need and desire within themselves. So they're going to be drawn to you in general when the spirit of revival is upon you. So once it's there, and once you're walking in it, you're going to put a target on your back, especially if you're dealing with religious people in the church, because they despise that. And the whole thing about it is what we're dealing with people is that even with a young Christian, somebody in church, like you have something that they used to have at one point in time. Like that pastor used to have that same zeal, and that same excitement for the things of God, for the spirit, they used to have it, but the love of money and, their love is waxed cold because of all of these situations, and the power and authority crept in. And when that stuff creeps in, spirit creeps out. It leaves, it departs. It will have no partaking of that. So you have a target on your back, but that desire is there, and then so people are hungry for that. So I remember us going to churches and going through the experience and stuff, and then we would leave after church and go to somebody's house. And so we would get into have our own group meetings there where people were coming in contact with the power of God or the Holy Spirit. And they would have that Kundalini awakening. They would have that engulfing of the Holy Spirit, right? And so they would have this, and it would change their life. You don't have to trick them into anything. It's something organic that happens. And so word would go back to the church that, hey, you guys are pulling the people away from the church after church, having these encounters where these kids, teenagers, are encountering deity. Like they're having a life-changing encounter. And so they come back to church and they're kind of bored. They want something more than a service. They want more than a sermon. They want something tangible. So I believe that's why our generation is crying out for something real. So that's what we have to offer, something real, something that's practical, that you can form your own relationship with God, with deity, with source, to where the depression will leave. All of this stuff has to fall off, and you're in a place of bliss. And that's where you'll be the envy of all nations, when you're in that place of bliss, when you're walking in your true freedom. And nobody had, you don't come looking for something from anyone, but you possess everything that you need. And so the kingdom of heaven is within. And once you realize that, you're a bad person. You really are, man. You'll do mighty things in the spirit. You really will. And you become the envy of all nations. I'm telling you, it's a weird place to be, because you're in a place of bliss, but then you have those targets on your back, just like Jesus did. It's nothing new. This isn't my gospel. Like this is something very old. And Christ went through the same thing, and he was rejected of his peers and kicked out of the churches, and and called a devil worshiper and all this. Like, you read it for yourselves. Matthew chapter 12, Matthew chapter 14. Like, go read it. Like, it's telling our story is what's happening. You know, his story is our story. So it's just revealing to us these different stages that we're going through as well. And so that's what you need. Don't let nobody put out your flame. Don't let nobody put out your spark because they're envious or they're jealous of what you have. And so nurture that thing, man. It's real. So it's a real tangible presence that we can be involved with on a daily basis that will change your life and change those around you. That's true revival.
And speaking of target on your back, and the only reason I'm sharing this is because everybody, the people are trying to put videos out and kind of put out spirituality, and they're getting back, you're a Satan worshiper, you're a witch or whatever. So there was a comment over here. I had to block this guy because he was saying something awful, but he said, it's like, you're going to insult us, at least spell it right, but he put fact Jew. So you can, translate that into English is like, fact Jew. I was like, spell it right, okay? So they're apparently not pleased with what you're saying. So I do get some negative comments. They usually tend to be around Sunday when I get the negative comments on my videos because
right when they get out of church.
They're out of church. They're like, I want to find something spiritual, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, she's not Christian. You're going to hell. You're of Satan and all that. I get those negative comments. Now, there's not very many negative comments at all. It's probably one out of every 200 or 300 comments I get. That's a really negative or angry one. So we just got one, fact Jew. And so how do you handle it, or what is your mentality? Because I know some people, when it first started happening to me, it was like, you take it personally. It's like, oh my gosh, they really think that? And then you go and you look at their Google page, and they've said the same thing to like 50 people.
That should tell you. Yeah.
Exactly. So how do you handle when people say fact Jew and stuff like that?
I'm like you. I used to take it personal. Like we said at the beginning, you'll get 1,000 great comments, and that one negative comment kind of messes with you. That's at the beginning. That doesn't happen anymore. You can say what you want to say. I know who I am. I know my calling. I know why I'm here. But when I was at a point that do you believe why I'm here? Will you affirm me? Oh, they're affirming me. I feel great. I don't live for the acceptance, or approval of men anymore. So I really could care less. But if they are legit, if they have legit questions, I'll validate them, right? So if they say, hey, why are you doing this? Explain to me. The Bible says this, but you just use the term Kundalini. What do you mean about that? You know what I'm saying? So then we can go down that road, and I would gladly go down that road with anyone. But when they're pointing fingers and you're going to hell and you need to repent, Manly P. Hall was a Mason devil worshiper and you're promoting him and you're going to hell too. Okay, I'm just cutting those people off. I'm not going to, no, he wasn't, and just get us kind of keyboard battle. I'm not doing that. And so it doesn't affect me anymore. You can say whatever you want about me, about my family, whatever about what I believe. It doesn't matter. It's working for me. It's working for other people. Lives are being changed and people's lives are being impacted. I don't need no more validation. But you have to get to that point. Like, you have to embrace that. You have to understand that if you live for people's approval, you'll die at their rejection. So you don't need anybody to approve you. And I remember that happening to me early on. I would have dreams and visions, right? So the Spirit would speak to me in the midst of the night and give me dreams about people and prophetic utterances that was going to happen to even the church I was a part of, like things that was going to happen to the church, and they wasn't pretty, right? That's what thing we're talking about. If it's not pretty, then it's not God, whatever, right? So it was negative things about the church being destroyed and being blown up, and through all of these symbols. And so I tried to go to the pastor, and they said it was this and prayed against it and stuff like that, right? So I remember taking those same dreams and utterances to a friend of mine and telling them what I had, because the way Spirit works, it doesn't work like you think it's going to work. Everything's hunky-dory. Some of it's pretty sadistic stuff that you're able to see, and you have to put everything in its proper perspective. But I brought a vision to somebody that I really believed in, someone who was discipling me, and they said the same thing. It's demonic. It's God wouldn't do that. He wouldn't let you see some ugly, sadistic images like that. And then that evening, the dream came to pass, right? And so though everything in the dream happened, but it's weird because a lot of times when those dreams come in, we'll be the person it's happening to, right? And it really would be for someone else, but so we're having the dream so that we can feel the infirmity and be touched and moved with that infirmity that person's going to go through or what's going to happen. So it seems like a personal or demonic attack when it's really spirit letting you know, get ready. I need you to minister to this person. This person's about to go through hell. They're about to go through hurt, and they need someone who is well equipped and trained and can actually feel it. So you can feel it, and so you have a longing for them to be healed, and a longing for them to be complete. And it's not always beautiful stuff. So it's part of it.
We've gotten way beyond symbols, but we're having fun. So
it's all symbology, though. Even in the dream, you're dealing with symbols, man. You know.
Now, tell me what your take is on this. I don't know if I've ever asked you this before. This happened years ago. Before this was kind of at the beginning of my spiritual growth. So we've had a ton of spiritual growth past this, but we're dealing with the Bible and Jesus and all that. When I was trying to figure it out, and I'm trying to remember if this was before I died or after I died, I wanted to know, what is this religion thing all about? Who is Jesus? You know, what's going on? So I, contacted Jesus. So Jesus appeared on a white horse with wings. And then it was like this guy with this picture, like the standard, I think it's like that Catholic Jesus picture, whatever Jesus looks like, but that was like on its face. And then I saw what Jesus really looked like, because it, from the way that they described Jesus, I would have never recognized that as Jesus. So they showed me that Catholic picture first, just to know that, okay, this entity that is coming to talk to me is Jesus. But then when it appeared, it was like, you don't look like any Jesus I've ever seen drawn. This is completely different.
Yeah.
So then Jesus says to me, I am not who you think I am. And then showed me these visions, and it was flashes of all of these deities, one after the other. The one that has all 8 arms or whatever, and then Muhammad, Buddha, Hare Krishna. Just it went through about 50 different deities and changed and transformed. And then came back to this image that I know as Jesus, or that looks like Jesus to me.
Yeah.
So and then basically showing me that I'm not just one person. I embody all of these, and not that I'm saying all of these are Jesus, but it's like a level of consciousness, of the Christ consciousness. And then it says to me, "Tell my people." It's a crazy story after this, but tell my people I am coming back soon. The judgment of the churches will begin soon. Okay, this I think was before that I had my near-death experience, that this happened. So then I drove around town because I'm like, well, I'm not part of a church. Who do I tell? Jesus told me to go tell his people he's coming back, and the judgment of the churches is about to start. So I'm going like church to church trying to talk to people. I end up in a Catholic church, and I told the guy everything that I just told you. And I told the priest that, and he's, politely listened to my story. And he said, I can't tell you how many people each week come by our church and tell us this. And then I was like, well, if you've had thinking I'm a crazy person, so I'm like, well, if so many people have come by and told you this, maybe you should listen to this information. So what is this judgment of the churches? And since this happened, church was going strong and everything was going fine with the churches. And then they are really struggling now to get people to even go to church. After I got this message to give to them, the judgment of the church. So what do you know about judgment of the churches? Because I'm sure this has got to be written down somewhere. This is a concept somewhere else besides just given to me.
Oh yeah, it's biblical. I mean, I want to touch that, but I want to go into first the image of Christ and what he looks like. Is he the people say I look like Jesus. Friends call me Jesus, whatever. But the symbol of the man with the long hair and the beard or whatever. But Jesus looks like the beauty of 1,000 suns. It's the most white, glorious entity that looks a certain type of way and feels a certain type of way too, because when you come in contact with this entity, it's pure love and understanding and bliss. And so you can have conversations and have an encounter with your eyes closed, and this glorious white light takes up your whole view, and you feel like someone's standing right in front of you, that's made out of love and understanding and bliss and healing, and you're being healed by even this entity standing in your presence.
The biggest light came from the horse first. That white horse with the wings, that's where the light came in. And then like you said, Jesus, there was light emitting.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. So, and then on top of that, so that's what his spirit form looks like. And we look pretty similar to that as well, right? In our spirit bodies. But when he appears to people and chooses a human form, this is what people have to get over, because Jesus appears this way, ascended masters appear this way, as well as ETs appear this way. So they'll come to you usually in a form that you will know who it is, right? So, or a form that you can handle too. So it's probably not going to come to an African Aborigine who thinks the white man is the devil, right? And so this image of this white Jesus is probably not going to show up, because that's the devil to them. This white man, right, who's been pillaging their people and destroying and all of the stuff that goes along with that. So that's probably not how this loving entity is going to show up. It's going to show up most likely someone who looks like them, right? So that's how these entities appear. They choose these forms that you can handle, this concept that you can handle, and so just like we see the images of the black Jesus or the white Jesus or whatever the case is. So they kind of choose these forms, or the ET grays or whatever, or spirit form or spirit matter. Some people deal with entities that look a certain type of way, and they see a form of a person. Some of them look like a smoke or something like that. So they have the ability to take whatever shape they want. So it's light beings. It's a fire being. So it would maybe freak you out more to see a fire being than it would of an angel, great, like a person who looks really good looking, white, big tall white guy or something like that, right? With armor on or something, whatever the case. So people see them and they appear to different ways to different people. So that's as far as the appearance thing looks. There's no like set image of, well, that's not Jesus because he looks like this, and it gets into all kind of stuff. But the coming judgment of the church. So the Bible says that the judgment begins in the house of God, right? And so these are the people who have claimed that that their church is the house of God. So and we understand, like even my dreams years ago, overlapping with what you're saying, is that spirit's letting you know that I'm judging the house of God. I'm judging these churches and stuff, and that's what we see now happening, and what we see happening in our lives. That the scriptures command, it says, "Come out of her, my people, so you will not be a partaker of her plagues, that you would not partake of her sins." So come out of her, like don't try to find validation in the churches, and try not to be in the church to change the church. And I know many people are saying, well, I'm going to keep going to church because I really believe I can change things. You can't.
No.
That's an ancient system that's way older than you, and there's energies there that are way older than you, and they have an agenda that it's not going to just come out by you being a good person and believing in some of the people who go there. So the scriptures testify that come out of her, my people, right? And so this is the same spirit that's come upon us to say, come out of her, because there's a judgment coming upon there. And if you stay there, you're going to be a part of that judgment, right? And so God is just using what the scripture says. It says the Lord uses the base things of the world, the things that people that doesn't look like he can use, right? He used the carpenter named Yeshua, right? He used the carpenter. He used someone like me, someone like you, and just all the other. He uses homeless people, right? He uses all these people who the world would think, God's not going to come through that form. So when people who are coming out of the churches, like, and he's using them. So, and this is it, because you're able to deal with so many people versus church people. Like church people are usually only going to deal with other church people. In the position that you are, I'm in, and many other people are being called, we could deal with everybody. The scriptures say, Paul said, he said, become all things to all men so that you can win some. So with the Jew, I became a Jew. With the Christian, I became a Christian. You know, with the Gentile, I became a Gentile. So it's the same way with us. Whatever terminology we need to use to win you over to love, to win you over to the light, that's the terminology we can use, and that's the empathetic way we can deal with you, because we've dealt with all people, and so that's what the scriptures command. So we're really in a good place right now, and this is where the hand of God is moving, and I think it's obvious. I don't think we have to work something up to understand that we're not. We are the religious experience without the bullshit. And I think that right there is saving a lot of people from a lot of headache and hardships to come in contact with.
Oh, absolutely. Kind of, this was several years ago when I first started my channel. I had this idea. I can't do it now because my trampoline is gone. We got rid of it. Samantha just never jumped on it. So I was going to start the Church of the Trampoline. And like every Sunday, I was going to jump on the trampoline and talk about spiritual stuff and basically piss off church people is kind of my goal. That was my attitude back then. My attitude's better now. But I was gonna have like the Church of the Nazarene. It was gonna be the Church of the Trampoline, and I was gonna do that. But then I came to understand that no, we don't want to have, even if we're making fun, you don't want to have a group that has kind of an agenda and everybody coming and just agreeing on this, because every single one of us has something different that we came here to do. Yeah. So how in the world can you create an organization that's everybody's going to fit in? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, even I think biblically the example that Christ left was the fact that we would be the body of Christ, right? And so that there were different members in that body. And so for a body to function, we need someone who's going to be the hand. We need someone who's going to be the eyes, the mouth, the nose, or whatever. So everyone's trying to be the head and trying to function on this body that is lifeless, that it's not going to work. When we all come together, we form this entity, which is Christ in me, the hope of glory, which is Christ on earth, right? And we're the embodiment of this entity, Jesus, love, right? So we have to work together. We have to understand that, hey, I'm good at this. You're good at this. Let's all come together and let's do it. That's how, and so once you understand that, you'll thrive. But all of this one-man show, and there's a pastor who runs it, and we all come to him, and there's this one guru and stuff. That's not biblical, and it's not working for a reason. It's not set up that way. It's not a hierarchy of a pyramid, or it's someone at the top, and they're the ones that we look up to. Our hierarchy goes sideways with one another, keeping ourselves accountable to one another, not in this different, hierarchies that go up and down and go sideways.
Yeah, life is interesting, that's for sure. Here's someone writes, this has like 8 pluses, so we're gonna ask this question. Last night I was meditating, and all of a sudden the upper part of my body started vibrating like crazy. It scared me for a second, and then it went away. What are your thoughts? What happened?
There's always those things that happen whenever we're experiencing astral travel, or getting into really deep trance states where we feel a fear, or we feel like a pain happening, or a sensation, and it directly pulls you out of trance. It pulls you out of meditation. So when you're trying to let your consciousness leave your body as well, it's kind of scary, right? You've never had it happen before. So what I say is, when those things happen, to kind of trust the feeling and go with it. Trust the energy. And even so, a lot of times healings come into, whether it's your heart or just your body, your physical body, your light body, or whatever. So a lot of times in that, we're receiving healing. And in the midst of that healing, we're feeling these tremendous vibrations, right? And so it's kind of scary. And that could have been what's happening as well, just work being done on you by your guardian angels, the Holy Spirit, whatever is doing work on you. So when you're in that state, man, just expect for that healing to come. And so you'll leave with the joy unspeakable that you didn't have once you went in. And sometimes you can physically feel it being done. Sometimes it's like a mental knowing, and oh man, I feel bliss. I'm gonna take this bliss with me. Other time it's really doing work on you, to your spirit being, and you can feel it and vibrating like that.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer, TruthSeekah. There's another question, and this goes, it's possibly in the demonic realm, but I want to make sure and preface this question before we get into the spiritual aspect of it. It says, if we are all one, why do some people have homicidal rage? So we want to make sure and let everybody know I have done extensive research on this as a result of something that happened to me after my dad died in 2004. After that, I got depressed and well, just sad, you know. And so I went to the doctor, and you know, it's like, are you okay? It's like, no, I'm sad. It's, you know, my dad died, and it's like, oh, you need these pills, and I'm because that's not normal. I'm like, I think it is normal because my dad died. You know, they think this is why I'm kind of upset and sad. And, oh, you know, try these pills. So I got on Wellbutrin. It is an antidepressant. So on Wellbutrin, and, you know, I'm a very well-adjusted person. And if this had happened to me when I was a teenager, I might have acted on what was what I was feeling. Thank goodness I was a grown adult. And I also had a very supportive husband that I was going through this. So I was on this, and I just had such awful side effects after like 6 months or so that it's like, I don't want to be on this medication anymore. So I started to take myself off of it, and I would have almost like nuclear explosions in my brain when I was trying to get off of it. The withdrawal symptoms from this were so awful. And while I was in the middle of this, some very strange things were happening to me. And after doing the research, this can happen to anyone while they're taking the medication, or while they're getting off of the medication, or shortly after they've gotten off of the medication, that this can happen at any time. I had these thoughts, and I told, I'm in trouble. I am seriously in trouble, because this is, you know, this is my agenda. I need to go to the grocery store and, you know, get some broccoli. I need to go pick up the dry cleaning. I need to kill somebody. I need to go and exercise. You know, it's going and murdering somebody was on the same level as going to the grocery store and exercising and running errands. It was just so simple. It's not that there were any voices in my head. It was just no big deal. Oh, I need to go kill someone. I was not mad. I was not angry. I was just very homicidal, and not as much suicidal. Although I had Chuck take off from work several days while I weaned myself off of this medication. But I had him hide all the knives. I had him hide everything, because I'm like, Chuck, it's just, I want to kill people. And people that haven't even done anything wrong, like just, hey, someone walked by the house, I want to go kill them. This is what happened as a result of this medication. It is so dangerous. And then think of how many people are in jail right now who have killed people, and they're like, I seriously don't know why I did that. I really don't know why I did. So we're kind of, you know, excluding that in this homicidal rage to maybe someone who is so angry, you know, that they're so angry they kill someone. What's going on spiritually with someone when they get like that?
Well, we know I think a lot of those cases, accidents do happen, or someone out of this rage or whatever, they go and do something. But when it gets overwhelming, like what you're saying, is definitely some demonic energies involved, right? To hurt others and hurt yourselves, and this could be something that has been so real with people that it turns into maybe some type of mental breakdown that they have, right? And they just want to inflict harm. And I'll tell you this, that I had an over infatuation with killing myself as a teenager, right? From the hurt and things like that, and even the things that I was involved with, I had this unnatural desire to do this. Also had an unnatural desire to cut myself. And this is when I was a teenager. I had never heard of cutting. This is something that is like, oh, you're a cutter too? Me too. Like, it's something that, like, it's hit mainstream now, because it's like an epidemic. Like, kids do this now but when I was a kid, I'd never heard of it. I had like one or two friends who would have this impulse, and we got into like vampirism and stuff, right? And I would have this overwhelming urge to cut myself. And when I did, I felt like I was pleasing an entity, right? And I was like 13, and so I've still got scars all over my arms, all up here and right here that are just from me cutting myself. And it gave this sense of instant gratification. And I literally felt that something was like, oh yes, thank you. Thank you. Not me. Like it was leaving me alone.
Hair stood up on my arms when you said that. That creeps me out.
Yeah, no, it's really scary. This is something greater than myself, and then this overwhelming infatuation with hanging myself, not blowing my brains out, but just hanging myself. Like I wanted to do it, but I had to rationalize, like, if I do it, I'm going to be dead though. I don't want to die. Like I'm having fun at times, but it's over infatuation with killing myself by hanging. And so it was a part of a lot of the things I was listening to, a lot of the things I was letting in, and a lot of the hurt. Like these entities were helping me process it. Like, this is how you process your hurt. Kill yourself. You're not good enough. Your mom told you wasn't good enough. Kill yourself, right? And so there's this outside influence that comes along with some type of physical activity that happened or whatever. So it's like, okay, this is the result. You want relief from your pain? Cut yourself. And there was literally a demonic intelligence attached to it. But when I gave my life to God, when I sought help, when I cried out for God to save me, immediately it was shut down. Those voices went away. The pain went away. And I was a depressed kid by myself a lot, and I always felt alone. And when I cried out to God, and I felt that presence come and fill me and live within me, this peaceful presence, and I was engulfed with white light, I've never felt alone anymore. Like even when I'm sitting in my house, I'm never alone. There's this entity here, which is God, source manifested, and it wants to, it's not just there watching you, like it wants a relationship with you. He, whatever, it wants to talk with you. It wants to lead you and guide you into all truth. It wants to heal you. And it's something positive. It's not something that's telling you crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like those are gone. Like those existed, right? And it's totally different. It's something that was coming from without to now it's something within, like a peaceful thing, right? And so once I dealt with that, all of that stuff left. And this is what we help people with who are feeling these overwhelming tendencies. And so all of the stuff that we're talking about, the meditation, the sage, and going into the spirit realm, this stuff helps as well because you're having a encounter with source, right? And source is where also the source of healing comes from. It's the divine, your creator, who created you and has your best interest in mind. So once you plug into that, through spiritual practice, through prayer, through meditation, through the burning of incense, whatever it stimulates your consciousness to go into that realm with the intention, right? It's always the intention that has to be there. And so when that happens, you know, like I said, I'm saying you're never alone. And it's a beautiful thing. And that's what we're helping people come in contact with. And that's why I was saying it's really, it's nothing to play with. None of this is nothing to play with. There's a big responsibility and a big burden on us as well. So it's real. And there's hope though. So anybody who's going through that stuff, I just want to will tell you there's hope, and it's something real. You don't have to, you know, there's a hope out there for you, for all of those voices to be quiet, because we deal with people every day, you know, and so we have to deal with this stuff. And some people get to a place where me and you have gotten to, and it's a really extreme situations, but it's becoming more prevalent now, obviously, right? And so in the Bible, it talks about walking in the spirit, okay, and spending time with spirit. And then if you do that, if you're spending time in the spirit, you're going to have fruit that you produce. There's going to be these things that you naturally produce. And it's like what you were reading earlier. It's going to be long suffering, gentleness, meekness, temperance, self-control, bliss, love, peace, patience, joy. Like these are going to be your inheritance if you spend time in spirit, right? But if you don't, there's also things that you're going to reap for not doing that. And a lot of them is anger, hatred, malice, envy. And for the self-control, which is on the spirit side, on the other side, it's fits of rage. you'll go into fits of rage, sometimes for no reason at all. Small people punching holes in the wall. These are all things that I did firsthand. Like punch holes in the wall. I was really abusive and things. And I remember just a fit of rage coming over me because my wife said something to me that I didn't like. For some reason, I grabbed the steering wheel and tried to run us off the road and tried to kill us. And I'm like, oh, wow, what's going on here, right? And you have to deal with that stuff. And so a daily practice of spending time in prayer and meditation and connecting with source, which is the source where all healing flows, to spend time in that will heal you, man. And we'll get rid of those fits of rage. We'll give you a peace that surpasses all understanding and the joy unspeakable. And that's what we have to offer.
I think everybody goes through that at some point, not necessarily fits of rage, but where you're behaving in a certain way during a certain period of time in your life. Maybe you just got out of a divorce. And so for a year or two, you go clubbing, sleeping with 2 or 3 people every weekend, you know, after that. And then later on in your life, you look back at that time, you know, for you, it might be the fits of rage. For someone else, it might be just, irresponsible behavior. And they look back and go, gosh, that wasn't even me. It doesn't feel like I was the one that was doing that. It was almost like someone else was in control of my body. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, totally. And all of that stuff, the anger will manifest itself through alcohol. And that's for people, or depression. So they drink, so the depression will go away. Or they're always bored or whatever. So they try to do these different things. So we know it's okay to drink. We know it's okay to have a drink, have a margarita, or whatever the case is. But if you're drinking or having that drink to suppress regret, doubt, worry, anxiety, like, hey, when I drink, my anxiety goes away. Loneliness, so then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And so you have to address those root causes that are bringing forth that hurt.
Oh, exactly. You got some good advice. And we're pretty much out of time. We have time for like one more question, but there's a ton of questions over here, so we're gonna have you back. Oh, what advice would you have for someone who is forced into church? I'm still living with my parents and family, and I'm not at a place financially where I can leave. A lot of people are going through this.
Yeah.
So what's your advice for them?
Make the best of it and just be, I said, make the best of it and just be yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like you can make the best of it if you have to. I choose not to. I could go and make the best of it, but I'm not, because there's so much that's going on that I'm so sensitive to that it's hard for me to sit there with my mouth shut. So I can't. It's better for me not to, you know what I'm saying? But just make the best of it. I'm pretty sure they're giving you some stuff that you can apply to your life if they're not just, fire and brimstone people. Hopefully they're not fire and brimstone people. If they are, you probably should run. But, if it's someone they have, a lot of churches now, they're more like self-help places anyway. They're just trying to give you something good to apply to your life or get out of financial debt or something like that. I think a lot of churches are moving away from the fire and brimstone stuff because they see what it does to people and it turns people away. And so people are trying to appeal to the masses. And so the fire and brimstone stuff doesn't. So I think it depends on what type of church you're going to, man. I think that has a lot to deal with it. They're begging for money or whatever the case is,
Yeah, I do. Samantha's solution, because she goes and visits grandma and has to go to church when she goes to grandma's. And so she draws the whole time. So that's one thing that she does is draws. Whenever I have to go to church, Mother's Day or whatever, we go with Chuck's mom or I go home with my mom and go to church. I spend my time looking at people's auras and watching their auras. That's what I do during church to endure it.
Yeah. As long as you're not you could be used in that situation, you know what I'm saying? You could be used to help people and speak into people's lives and stuff, So don't look at it as a bad thing if you're forced to go or if you feel compelled to go. Like there's people who feel compelled to go. I'm not one of those people. But I am compelled for a sense of community. but just not with all the strings attached. And I think that's what many of us are. So that's why we're opening up different portals so that people can feel involved and they can, they have questions, all this kind of stuff. So there's a sense of community that's within each and every one of us. So there's so many people who hate what's going on, but they want to be involved so bad that they keep going anyway, because they're like, I don't want to just sit at home. I want to be a part of something. So they go to church or whatever the case is. So that's why I think it's good to, if you can, create an alternative group of people or meet with people, to have your own personal, whether it's a Bible study or a prayer group or a meditation session or a yoga class. Just cut all the bullshit out and just go straight into it.
Mm-hmm. Another thing you can do, because this looks like you're actually, you can tell I've had to do this a lot. You know how you have sermon notes, like you follow along, you fill in the blanks and all that. Yeah. You can also bring a spiral notebook with you. And then, look up at the pastor, look down and just keep writing, but use this time for your epiphanies. Like usually it's like, okay, I really need to think about this project, or, I need to write a business plan or do these things. But, you always find excuses. Oh, I'm going to go, mop the floor that you hate doing just to keep from doing these things. Bring your spiral notebook. And as you're writing, it appears that you are really into the sermon. And so you'll be more accepted by the people around you. Yeah, I've done this a lot. And just fill in the blanks with whatever on the sermon notes and just keep writing. And then there you've got your notes for later. You've written your business plan or you've written your grocery list or whatever it is. And that's the cheater stuff that I do.
So
bad.
It could be used as something good. You know what I'm saying? And even like a part of the sermon could be something good. The worship music and things like that. It can all be good because it's simply the same thing we're speaking about, going into trance. I mean, this is what people are doing when they're listening to worship music with their eyes closed and hands raised for 45 minutes. Like, you're going to go into a trance. It's just how far you let yourself be taken into that trance. So in the midst of a trance, then you do get impressions, you do get energies that come in and ideas, so you can write them down like you're saying. But it's the same science, whether you're sitting at home going into trance or you're going to an evangelical church that really gets into the music and the drums start playing and you get into trance and you can get into the spirit as well there. So it's the same thing that's happening. So you just send forth your intention, to be something good and just make the most of it. One thing about it, they're just going to cut you off though. All right, time to pass the plate,
Exactly. So
like beings around me and stuff, and you're cutting it off to take money or whatever.
It is so hard for me to listen to sermons because they'll be talking and you'll get into it and then they'll say something that's like, and I have a hard time with my facial expressions because I can't hide what I'm feeling. So I'll be like, I'll roll my eyes or something. So that's why I have to distract myself. Because we went to my aunt passed away this last week, and we went to her funeral. So in the funeral service, it was really nice, and it was a bunch of positive things. But then the lady starts talking about, and we all wonder what happens when you die and what it's like when you die. And then she proceeds to talk about what it's like after you die as if she's been there. And I'm sitting there going, am I the only one in this room that knows what happens after you die? Because the rest of you people have no clue what is going on. So here she's up there just preaching about what it's like when you die and what your body is going to be like. And I'm like, this lady has no freaking clue. So I tried to keep the straightest face possible, or I got my Kleenex out, pretended to be crying or something, and put my Kleenex over my face because it's like, I can't hold my expressions.
Yeah, I can't sit there and be quiet anymore. Like, I have to say something, so I just don't go.
Mm-hmm.
Many people sit there and they're like, they feel that same way, but they just hold it in. And they take that bitterness and anger and rage out to the world. But I was like, you know what? Nope. I'm just going to create something myself and do it the right way. I'm not going to sit there and put up with all this crap,
Oh, well, thank you so much for being on the show. I learned so much. I always take notes when you're on here. All these things to look up and to research. So I've got a bunch of stuff to research for that you kind of enlightened me to. They wanted to know, are there any books on symbols Like this one, I don't know if this is even a good book or not, because I'm not an expert on symbols or anything.
It seemed like, if that's the same one you had, it seemed like it has some good stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the symbols, but it really goes into, the majority of it is dream interpretation. So this is more dream interpretation than any. I couldn't find my other symbols book. There was another one.
Yeah, I recommend this book.
Okay, that's
there's
what the
different versions. There's like a reader.
It's hard for me to read that kind of script. The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Is that what it says?
Yeah, by Manly P. Hall. And so really anything by Manly P. Hall, but this is, I mean, this has so much stuff on symbolism, on, this covers a little bit of everything. So this is kind of like a guide to occultism, like very low levels or whatever, but it's really good. Like even right here, just talking about, you know, the pentagram, you know, I'll read what it says. The pentagram is the figure of the microcosm and the magical formula of man. It is one rising out of the four, the human soul rising from the bondage of the animal nature. It is the true light, the star of the morning. It marks the location of 5 mysterious centers of force, the awakening of which is the supreme secret of white magic. So this is a really good book, and there's a really thick reader's version as well. There's a lot of versions of Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. So I suggest that one, and I'm going to be doing some teachings out of that book actually too on the website really soon. And I'm basically a devotee of Manly P. Hall, so I love his work. It speaks to my heart and soul. So I endorse everything he does for the most part. But yeah, so also too, just to plug it in, you know, this weekend we're doing the live webinar. It's going to be holotropic breathing, so to get into trance-like states by changing your breathing pattern. And so meditation is one thing, and it's great, but it's so hard to just sit down and clear your mind. But when you do all of these different breathing exercises, it immediately puts you into this trance and really brings forth bliss and love and dealing with stress. And so you deal with that, it relaxes you. That, along with some good coal burning or something, man, you don't have to sit there and fight and try to get into the spirit realm and try to press in. So we're doing that this Saturday, and we're going to do them once a month. So sign up on the website, and you know, like everything's on there. We got the podcast coming up again. We got all of my music is available on the website, TruthSeekah.com, TruthSeekah.com, and drop me a line if you want to be involved and want to be on the podcast for an interview. We're setting all this stuff up now. I'm super duper excited, and I look forward to seeing everybody there this Saturday. It's going to be amazing. Trust me, do not miss it. You could be on the webinar and be on there. This dude is the real deal, and you can book him for your own sessions as well. But so this is our session, but it's going to be made available for everybody. So it's going to be awesome.
Well, that's incredible. Thank you for doing that. Oh, that's really cool. At TruthSeekah.com. You guys go check it out for pretty much everything. And that's where you get all the good stuff. Yay. So next time, my daughter wore your shirt. So okay. Yeah, so it's dirty. So I was gonna wear your shirt during this, and I was like, really? And she's a 14-year-old girl, so I couldn't handle the smell. So that's why I don't have it on. Anyway. But yeah, you can get t-shirts. You can get all kinds of stuff from TruthSeekah at TruthSeekah.com. So thank you guys for joining us. And we're going to have you back on because there's too many questions to ask at this point of you. So yes, we will. We'll schedule that in just a minute. So, all right, guys, you have an absolutely fabulous day. And I will see you on the next video. Bye.
Peace.